Question. How effective were the Italian submarines? Answer. Very little. The Italian submarines in the Atlantic mostly stayed in Bordeaux. They were not accustomed to the ocean conditions and weather in the Atlantic. Question. What was the main reason for the losses of the Navy? Answer. The Graf Spee was lost in South America. The Bismarck was sunk by the English Air Force. The Scharnhorst was lost near Murmansk. We lost the Blücher near Norway, and the Kongsberg there as well. The main losses were from the air. The Atlantic shrank due to the Air Force, so that a large vessel of the size of the Bismarck could not live there without an escort of aircraft carriers. Section 5. Mine laying activities of Allied Air Forces. Question. Give us your estimate of the effects which mines had on your operations. Answer. The mines which were dropped by the Air Force in the Baltic and the harbor entrances were very disturbing, especially in the shipping lanes in the North Sea. Question. How did they affect shipping? Answer. Many ships could go without transport escort. There were certain clear lanes. It was my impression, towards the end, however, that the mines had the edge over the mine defense. Especially the mine which is below the surface and is set so that it does not explode until a ship passes over it several times. The combination of these and acoustic and mechanical mines were especially difficult to combat. Question. Were your submarines disturbed by mines? Answer. Yes, in the Baltic during training. Very little in the Bay of Biscay because the water becomes immediately very deep. Question. Was the Scharnhorst damaged through mines? Answer. Yes, I think so. When Scharnhorst made the dash through the channel, she ran on 1 or 2 mines. Or it could have been the Gneisenau. I believe it was the Gneisenau and not the Scharnhorst. Question. Were other large vessels damaged by mines? Answer. No. Question. Can you tell us how many tons were lost due to mines? Answer. I cannot give you that without my records. Question. Who was in charge of keeping those records? Answer. The Naval Command, which was lastly in Flensburg. There were several of your commissions that were given all the documents. Also, all exact figures concerning submarines were there. Question. Who was responsible for preparing these documents? Answer. Admiral Meisel. Certainly, Captain Zinker would know about the mines, and Rear Admiral Gott would know about the figures of U-boats. He was in the 2nd Department. All these were in Flensburg. As far as numbers of submarines produced are concerned, they are the domain of Captain Dobratz and Kiel. Question. What countermeasures were taken by your Navy to prevent us from dropping mines? Answer. Unfortunately, very few. The main danger was in the Baltic because there are shallow waters there, and all the U-boats training were concentrated there. You came flying in across Jutland, and so we tried to put up some flak in Jutland. Question. Did you consider using flak ships? Answer. We did not have enough means to build such ships and to place them there. Section 6. The German Merchant Marine. Question. Who was in charge of the Merchant Marine? Answer. Gauleiter Kaufmann in Hamburg. He had the title of Reich Commissioner for Ocean Shipping. Question. Was the construction and operation of the Merchant Marine under the Navy? Answer. No. That was under Kaufmann. The Navy was simply ordered to make escorts available. Question. Who was Kaufmann responsible to? Answer. The Führer. Kaufmann was the Gauleiter in Hamburg, and his position in this important harbor led to his appointment as head of the Merchant Marine. Question. Do you know the total tonnage of the Merchant Navy during the war? Answer. I do not know that. I only know the number towards the end. I believe that in 1944 we had about 1.2 million gross registered tons. Question. Did you know how much was acquired from other nations and how much was constructed during the war? Answer. Construction did not commence until 1942. Throughout 1940 to 1941, we did not build any merchant vessels. Question. Why not? Answer. Because the docks were crowded with submarines, and we were not able to sail the seas with the merchant navy anyways. Question. How many were built in 1942, 1943, and 1944? Answer. I believe some 80,000 to 120,000 tons altogether. These figures are only approximate as I remember them. Later, that was considerably reduced through the bombing attacks. Mr. Merker must know the exact number. It was called the Haynes Program. Question: how many tons were acquired from other nations? Answer: I do not know that, but it may have been around 500,000 tons. Those are things which were not of my business. Question: what were your limiting factors in construction? Answer: the number and capacity of the docks. Question: were the air raids a limiting factor? Answer: yes, because the Navy had to share space with the Merchant Marine. Question: where are the documents pertaining to the merchant vessels? Answer: they can be found with Mr. Kaufman or Mr. Merker. The best thing would be to go to Hamburg and see the staff of the Reich Commission for Ocean Shipping. Question: we have heard that in 1943, Hitler sent fast merchant vessels to sea without any escort. How did that work out? Answer: we lost most of those. They were lost to the Air Force or to your Navy. Question: was Kaufman an able head of the Merchant Marine? Answer: I believe that he did very well with limited means. Question: Speer tells us that the leadership of the Merchant Marine was not very good. Do you know why? Answer: I do not know what makes Speer say that. I knew the situation pretty well. Question: do you believe that Kaufman took more interest in the city of Hamburg than in the war? Answer: that is possible. I never felt it to be that way. Question: did the air attack on Hamburg damage a large number of merchant vessels? Answer: in a similar form in which we had continuous losses in the Navy. The number of available merchant vessels was very small. Question: did you know how many merchant ships were lost in Hamburg? Answer: I was given this number, but I do not remember it. Kaufman gave it to me, but I am sure that they must have these numbers in the office of the Reich Commission for Ocean Shipping. I remember I needed this figure because I was always asking for better air raid protection for Hamburg. Section 7. Harbor Defenses and Vulnerability to Air Attack. Question: what did you do for Hamburg's protection from air attack? Answer: I wanted to put in much more flak. I believe there were some 300 guns around Hamburg. 1,000 would have been sufficient, and all of them should have been 128mm. And then I wanted to build a better smokescreen. Question: why did you not succeed in getting more flak? Answer: we did not succeed because our means were not sufficient. Question: who was in charge of the flak defense? Answer: the Luftwaffe. Question: can you remember the number of flak guns in Bremen or Kiel? Answer: no, but I think it was the same as Hamburg. I also tried repeatedly to get increased protection for Bremen and Kiel. I tried to get as much as possible. In a small harbor city, 500 guns would have been very nice, but in a large harbor you need 1,000 guns. Question: what sort of installations were the most vulnerable to air attack? Answer: the floating docks. Question: which weapon is the most effective against them? Answer: a small bomb is sufficient, because it needs only one hole, and then the whole thing topples over with the ship that is in it. Question: what is the next most vulnerable port installation? Answer: the worst thing is, naturally, if you hit the electric power plant. Then the whole docks are at a standstill. Cranes are not very vulnerable. Question: will you comment on the attacks on Swinemünde, which we made in 1945 when the Russians broke into East Prussia? Answer: at the time, I was very much afraid that you would make such an attack on that overcrowded harbor, but we had a lot of luck then. The harbor was full and the danger was very grave, but fortunately, most of the ships sailed before the attack. Question: did you lose many ships there? Answer: not many, maybe some 30 or 40. Section 8. Notes on Japan. Question: do the Japanese have information about the new U-boats? Answer: they were told about them, but none of these new U-boats were in Japan. Question: are they building some? Answer: I do not believe so, because I do not think they could do it. They are so very complicated, and I do not believe they have the necessary dock and steel capacity. Question. Have they got the drawings? Answer. I do not believe so, because these drawings should have gone to Japan aboard 2 submarines. One was lost, and the other turned around at the time of capitulation and went to England. Question. What do the Japanese have in the line of radio location? Answer. I believe they have very little or nothing at all. The development is just as bad as it was with us. Our main trouble was that we could not build radar equipment for shortwave. Question. What do you think of the operational effectiveness of the Japanese submarine? Answer. They have always used submarines in a different manner than we have. They have used them for observation and collaboration with their surface craft. Their submarines are much bigger than ours. Question. Did any German submarines go to Japan? Answer. Yes. Altogether some 15 to 20, but they always returned. Some of them are still there, probably 7 or 8. Question. Which route did they take? Answer. Around the Cape of Good Hope. Question. Why did they go there? Answer. They were taking certain electrically treated steel to Japan and returned with quinine, rubber, wolfram, and tin.